Hey guys, it's Shelby, otherwise known as Shelbizleee here on YouTube, and today I am so excited to share this video with you guys because we're going to be talking about clothing, which materials are not sustainable and which ones are. And I'm so excited to talk about this because you know my channel focuses on sustainability, and specifically with clothing within the last couple decades, we've really been trending towards clothing just being another disposable. People look at it as something you just buy, wear a few times, and then toss it. As a matter of fact, 2/3, 80% of clothing that is produced ends up in the landfill. And so I'm hoping by helping educate people on what materials are better for the planet, which ones you should be looking out for, and why you should care about these things, it will encourage people to pay more attention and be more thoughtful when purchasing clothing and looking at the labels to see what's in them and which ones are more sustainable and which ones we don't want to be supporting. This video is in partnership with the Make It Feel Right campaign, which is just trying to educate people like you and me on what fibers are more sustainable and can be transformed into some of the most beautiful garments, like my absolute favorite utility jacket made from complete Tencel that I wear all the time now. You might have seen on my Instagram a time or two. So we'll talk more about that throughout the video, but if you want to jump ahead and check out the Make It Feel Right campaign, I'll have it linked in the description. You should really check it out if you do care about being more sustainable and ethical within your clothing purchases. Currently, textiles made from natural materials like Tencel fiber and other things like bamboo, hemp, that sort of stuff only makes up about 2% of the market. So only about 2% of all the clothing produced is made from those sustainable materials. Some of the materials we'll talk about today, but there's a lot of fast fashion out there made from a lot of really unsustainable materials. But by us choosing to purchase the more sustainable materials, that 2% is growing more and more, consumer reports are saying. So I just want this video to stand as a pillar for why people should choose more sustainable materials. I did want to talk about all of these materials from 3 standpoints. So the production of how they're made, how they're sourced, that sort of thing. We'll talk about what they do during their life cycle, if they cause any environmental harm or not harm during their life cycle, and which ones are best or worst quality sort of situation. And then their afterlife. What happens when they're done being able to be used as clothes, and even if they're not in donating condition, what can you do with them? So with all of that in mind, let's go ahead and get into which one of these fabrics is the most unsustainable. The first material, which I feel completely right in saying is the most unsustainable, is polyester. The beginning of its life starts in an oil rig because that's right, polyester is literally plastic, which if you don't know by now is made from oil or petroleum. From what I was able to find, polyester takes the exact same amount of oil to produce the same weight of fabric, if that makes any sense. So what I found is that for every 1 kilogram of polyester fabric produced, it takes 1.5 kilograms of oil or petroleum. Currently, because polyester is so popular in fast fashion, 70 million barrels per year go towards making clothing. And that's just for the material, not including the production. Polyester is the material that has the most negative impacts during its life cycle for a couple reasons. Number one, whenever you wash things like polyester, synthetic materials made from petroleum, they shed off what's called microfibers. And it has been found that microfibers are getting into our water stream from our washing machines and can be found in water samples all over the world. Not only are humans now consuming microplastics due to this cheap synthetic fibers, but it also bioaccumulates. Not only that, but this material is incredibly low quality. It is not something that is going to last. So essentially, these big fast fashion companies are using it mostly in their clothing because they're already making disposable clothing anyway. They don't need to be made to last. So it is not a fiber that you should be investing in. Definitely not one I would recommend, and the one I would label as the most unsustainable. The end of polyester's life is absolutely nothing because its life never ends, truly. Polyester is made from plastic and petroleum, like I said, which exists on this planet nearly forever from what scientists have been able to tell in forms of microplastics. There are some companies out there that are doing recycled polyester, so recycling other forms of polyester into a new material, but like I said, this is not a high quality material. So oftentimes it does just end up as that 80% of clothing that goes to landfills, like we talked about in the beginning. Not much different than polyester are synthetic fiber blends. So a lot of these actually have polyester in them. They are other synthetic materials blended together to make essentially a new material. The before and during life cycle of these two materials is essentially exactly the same as polyester, so I won't go too far into that part of it, but their end of life cycle is where you really get a problem, because a blend of materials means that none of those materials can be broken down back into their raw forms, meaning you cannot recycle those synthetic materials because they are all intertwined and cannot be broken down to their basic blocks to be turned back into anything else. Leather. Clothing or boots or accessories made from animals is incredibly unsustainable, and that is because the production behind it in general is just awful. Leather often comes from cows, so if we just take that into account, how much energy and how many resources and how much water it takes to grow a cow, it is incredible how many resources go into that. Wasting all of these resources for such a cruel and unsustainable material is so unnecessary. But aside from that, after the cow is grown and killed, then you have to treat the flesh with so many chemicals to stop it from decomposing, because that's what it's meant to do, because it's an animal. There are several chemical baths that the leather has to go in and out and in and out of, which makes it horrible not only for the environment but also for the workers who have to be there to do all of that chemical work, and then also for us to be buying and then breathing in as we wear it. During its lifetime, leather doesn't lose any fabrics that make it unsustainable, except for the fumes that come off of leather. It's not something I would ever encourage people to keep in their home, especially from new leathers. And leather is also pretty high quality, so it's not something that I would put in the category of unsustainable for being a low quality material. And it can also be composted, weirdly enough, but it does have to be old leather because, like I said, newer leather has so many chemicals and preservatives in it, you're not going to be able to compost anything that has been recently treated. I personally support the purchase of secondhand leather or recycled leather, but I definitely think that virgin leather is a very unsustainable material that we should not be supporting with our dollars. Cotton. Organic cotton is much more sustainable than conventional cotton, but most cotton in the US that is grown is conventional, so we'll focus on that for now. But don't forget, when you're looking for cotton alternatives, look for organic, and you can feel pretty good about doing that. The reason I say conventional cotton is so terrible because there are so many pesticides, insecticides, those sort of things put onto cotton to keep it pristine. It's actually one of the most treated agricultural crops in the world, which makes it pretty unsustainable because when those things get into our water streams, it can have negative impacts on what lives in the water and also on our health. Cotton also takes an incredibly large amount of land and water to produce. It makes you wonder why it has become one of the most subsidized and most popular fabrics to use in clothing as opposed to some of the other plant alternatives we're going to get into. I'll mention how much yield per acre some of these other plant materials can produce, but keep in mind that cotton can only grow 800 pounds of material per acre. You'll learn as we go on why that's not really that much. I would say during cotton's life cycle, it has about a medium quality. It's not the best quality fibers, especially when it's put into things from fast fashion brands, but it's also not the worst, and you can definitely compost it, and there are active programs that recycle it, so that's really good. Linen fibers are actually made from a waste product because linen is made from flax, which most flax is grown for the seed, flax seeds, and then flax fibers or linen fibers are the waste product of that. So that already makes it a pretty sustainable material because it is an agricultural byproduct. And another upside to linen as opposed to its other natural fiber counterparts is it can grow quite a bit more per acre, so it's taking up less land, which is really important when we're taking into consideration what is most sustainable is how much land use do these things take. Flax straw can grow up to 1,400 pounds per acre, which is a pretty sustainable way of growing clothing, if I do say so myself. There are no downsides to linen during its life cycle that I have been able to tell. It is a pretty durable material, and it also can keep you pretty cool in the summer months. And even better, linen at the end of its life cycle can be completely composted. Hemp. And we've already talked about how much cotton and how much linen can grow per acre, and we said that cotton can grow 800 pounds, linen can grow 1,400 pounds, while hemp can grow up to 2.5 tons, which is nearly 5,000 pounds of material per acre. But the benefits of hemp's production cycle does not stop there, because I didn't touch on this in flax or in cotton, but those two crops do take nutrients out of the soil to produce. A lot of cotton farming in the US is very unsustainable because they'll plant monocultures, which basically means that that one crop is taking all of the nutrients out of the soil that that crop needs. So instead of mixing the use, which takes out different sort of nutrients here and there, they'll put all the acres full of cotton, and it just completely strips that land of the nutrients that those plants need to grow. Hemp does not do that, and the reason is because hemp actually gives the soil nutrients. It's not just extracting it, it actually improves the quality of the soil. So not only does hemp produce a lot more per acre, but it also is not extracting all the nutrients from the soil, which we need to have a sustainable production method so that we can replant and regrow things on the same land year after year. There are no negative impacts during hemp's life cycle. There are no plastic fibers being emitted. There are no VOCs like the leather. It is a very durable material, and not many fast fashion companies use it. Actually, I don't know if any fast fashion companies use it. So it is a very, very sustainable material, and you should definitely add it to your list of things to look out for when purchasing clothing. And last but not least, we have my new favorite, which is Tencel, which I told you is made from wood pulp. So these forests are sustainably certified most of the time. You definitely want to be a little bit careful about that. I know I didn't mention this for any of the other fabrics because none of them come anywhere near as close to as soft as Tencel fibers are. It is so amazing. I wish you could touch my new favorite jacket because it is just so great. And it doesn't keep you too hot or too cool. It's super weird how this jacket has helped me during my Portland trip, my Seattle trip, and even once the temperatures have dropped. Weirdly enough, again in Texas, I'm able to wear it and it regulates my temperature so nicely. I'm really a big fan of Tencel fibers right now. And of course, Tencel is a natural material, so like a lot of the other ones, it is completely biodegradable and is not going to stay on this planet forever, but it is also a very, very good quality fabric, so you don't have to worry about it falling apart on you. It is something that you can feel good about investing your money into a Tencel fiber material garment in any scenario. Just a quick rundown on some other things you can keep in mind. It's really good to buy recycled materials. So if there's a company out there that's making things from recycled wood, So if there are companies out there that are making clothing from recycled wool, recycled polyester even, or recycled cotton and denim, it's really great to support those businesses as well, because obviously those were already waste products that they're turning back into something new that we can all use and enjoy. I hope this video really encouraged you to start thinking about the fibers that you are buying, things that you are supporting, and even if you're shopping secondhand, to prioritize these natural materials because there are still negative impacts that synthetic fibers can have on our environment, even if you didn't create a demand for them. Don't forget to check out the Make It Feel Right campaign and learn more about natural fibers and why you should choose them. And remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye, guys.